Thanksgiving is supposed to be all about family, isn't it? Giving thanks and eating so much you can barely move from the couch. That's what I thought anyway before everything went sideways this time. My name's Adam. I'm 27, and up until that night I actually thought I still had a shot at fitting in with my mom's family. I knew they weren't perfect. Everyone knew that. My uncle had a gambling thing that nobody talked about. My aunt loved blabbing everyone's secrets to whoever was around. And my cousins? Let's just say they were spoiled rotten, but hey, they were still family. These were the people who used to hand me the mashed potatoes and kiss my head at Christmas, and I was still holding on to this stupid idea that they actually cared about me deep down. This year, they told me I was welcome to Aunt Carol's for Thanksgiving. She texted me saying it would be a fresh start, and she used a bunch of those stupid emojis to make it sound nice. I didn't really want to go, but a part of me, the naive part, thought maybe things would change. Maybe I wouldn't feel like some outcast they barely put up with. I even baked a pumpkin pie from scratch, just like my mom used to do before she passed away a few years back. It felt good, like I was doing something to remember her. I got there right on time, pie in hand, but this little knot of fear in my gut was getting bigger. The second I walked in, I knew something was wrong. Everyone stared, then instantly looked away like I was some stranger who'd wandered into the wrong party. No hello, no hugs, nothing. Just dead silence. Except for my cousin Travis, who gave me this slow, sarcastic clap before turning back to whatever he was talking about. I had to really force down that lump in my throat and put on a fake smile before I even got to the kitchen to put down the pie. Dinner wasn't any better. I ended up stuck at the very end of the table, squeezed between a coat rack and this rickety old chair that looked like it was about to collapse if I breathed too hard. Food got passed around, but mine always showed up practically empty. Then when I reached for the gravy boat, Aunt Carol knocked it over. Gravy everywhere, all over my shirt, and everyone just started laughing. I laughed along, but it felt totally fake, like glass cracking. I got away to the bathroom to clean up, staring at myself in the mirror, asking myself why I even bother with this family stuff. By the time dessert came, I was ready to leave. I decided to make a quick escape, head home, and try to salvage the rest of my night with some cheesy Netflix and a frozen pizza. Then, as I grabbed my coat, I reached into my pocket for my keys and froze. My wallet, gone. My heart sank right to my toes. I frantically searched every pocket, patted myself down, even checked the floor, nothing. This awful, icy feeling started to spread through me. I forced myself to stay calm and went back into the living room. Everyone was piled on the couches, glued to the football game, practically asleep from all that Thanksgiving food. Travis looked at me and grinned. "Something wrong, Adam?" he asked, his voice dripping with fake concern. "Yeah," I said through gritted teeth. "My wallet's gone. Anyone seen it?" For a second, you could hear a pin drop. Then my cousin Jess snorted into her drink. Uncle Rick mumbled something about me always causing a fuss. Aunt Carol let out this huge sigh like my very existence was a burden. But it was Travis who really got to me, that smirk plastered on his face, making me want to punch a hole in the wall. "Maybe you just lost it," he said. "Wouldn't be the first time, huh?" I clenched my jaw. "I didn't lose it," I snapped. Travis leaned back, put his feet up, and stretched real slow. "Or maybe," he drawled, "you're just broke and looking for someone to blame." My ears were ringing. All I wanted to do was storm out, get away before I did something I'd regret. But his cocky attitude, the way the whole family seemed to be taking his side, it was like something inside me finally broke. So I just pulled out my phone, silent as a mouse, and opened my bank app. Maybe, just maybe, my credit card was okay. I could always cancel my debit card later, deal with the mess then. I really, really wish I hadn't looked. My savings, gone, poof. Years of saving, my emergency fund, completely wiped out. Zero, nada. For a second, I thought it was some crazy glitch. Then Travis leans in, practically twisting his neck to see the screen, and bursts out laughing. "Oops," he says, all casual-like, shrugging. "Shoulda had a better password, cuz." The whole room just exploded with laughter. Even Aunt Carol, hiding behind her drink, snickered. It felt like someone punched the air right out of me. My hands were shaking so bad as I stuffed my phone in my pocket and grabbed my coat. This time I really meant it. I couldn't even trust myself to talk, let alone scream as I marched toward the door. Travis yelled after me, "Hey, Adam." I stopped, my hand already on the knob. He said, "Think of it as our bonus for putting up with you all these years." The laughter was insane. Everything went blurry. For a second, I almost just walked out, pretended it was all some awful nightmare. But then I remembered something really important, and the rage, it shifted, got colder, sharper. I turned back to them, plastered on a fake smile. "Then you'll really appreciate what's coming next," I said, quiet but firm. They laughed even harder, like it was the funniest thing they'd ever heard. I stormed out, slamming the door. The icy air hit me hard, but it also sort of woke me up. I leaned against my car, pulling out my phone. I wasn't calling the bank or texting anyone. Nope. I opened a different app, one I'd downloaded ages ago, never thinking I'd actually use it. The thing is, they had no clue. They never even tried to find out that I'd gotten a part-time gig last year with a security company. I was helping them test this new anti-fraud system. Part of the deal was I had to put a tracker on all my banking stuff, my apps and phone. This tracker could show if someone messed with my accounts, where they were, even give proof for court. And let me tell you, I had the proof. I filed the report in like 5 minutes flat. The cop on the phone was nice but serious. He told me to stick around. They were sending someone. I didn't wait long. 10 minutes tops and bam, red and blue lights at the end of the street. My heart hammered in my chest as 2 cop cars screeched to a halt, their headlights cutting through the darkness. Doors slammed. You could hear their boots crunching on the gravel. I just stood there by my car, arms crossed, watching them head for the house. Then boom, the pounding started. I could hear all the chaos inside, people yelling, running around, voices getting all frantic. Travis was the loudest. I could hear Aunt Carol screaming. The door finally groaned open and the cops walked in. Before it was even all the way open, one of them yelled, "Everybody stay put." Their words sliced through the thick air of laughter and everyone being confused, instantly swapping it with a heavy, prickly tension which, from where I was kinda satisfying to hear. I just stood outside, leaning back against my car, as the living room lights lit up the whole front window. I could see my relatives, my family, if you want to call them that, freeze, like a bunch of kids busted for stealing cookies. Except this time they weren't after cookies. They'd stolen thousands of dollars, my future, my safety net, my trust. The second cop, a woman who meant business, started firing off questions. "Who lives here? We have reports of someone accessing a personal bank account without permission, and it's linked to this address." Uncle Rick puffed up like he was about to explode. "There's been a mistake. We're good people. Family get-together, that's all." The officer didn't even flinch. "Good people don't move savings out of someone else's account." Then almost casually she added, "Especially not using IP addresses registered to this address." I almost burst out laughing watching Aunt Carol's face. She clutched her pearls like some bad character from a TV show, and Jess and Travis were exchanging worried glances like, "We're so done for." The cop pulled out a tablet, swiping through it with this blank look on his face. "We've got the records," he said. "Transactions, device info when they logged in, enough to charge him with wire fraud multiple times." Oh, Travis, what a genius, just great. Travis actually rolled his eyes at that. "Oh, come on, it was just a joke, man." Like he even needed the money. The whole room just went silent, dead quiet. Even the TV was off, the football game just a silent, ghostly picture in the background. The officer's voice was all hard edges when he said, "You went into someone else's bank accounts without their permission and stole money. That's not messing around. That's a serious crime." Finally, it seemed to sink in for Jess. She just lost it, started bawling her eyes out. Loud, gasping sobs, more scared for herself than anything. Aunt Carol started yelling and waving her arms, talking about how it was all a misunderstanding and family sticking together. Uncle Rick was just mumbling about talking it through, no need to make a big deal. I just stayed put, letting it all play out without doing anything. Not this time. I didn't owe them anything. Then one of the cops asked, "We need to talk to the victim. Is Adam still here?" I raised my hand slowly from where I was leaning on my car. "Right here, officer." Both cops turned and nodded toward me. They almost smiled when they saw me, and the younger one gestured for me to come over. "You the account holder?" he asked. "Yes, sir, Adam Mitchell." I just sat there, nodding, trying to look serious. I swear I could feel everyone inside staring daggers at me, practically pleading with me not to go through with it. Aunt Carol even stumbled toward the door, her hands clasped together like she was about to start praying. "Adam, honey," she choked out, her voice shaky. "Please don't do this, we're family." Something inside me just broke, but not in an angry way this time. It was more like everything suddenly became crystal clear. I walked closer to the porch so they could all hear me, so they could all see me. "You ripped me off," I said, keeping my voice even though my insides were shaking. "You thought it was funny, you made me feel worthless again, and I'm not covering for you this time. I'm not pretending it didn't happen." I turned to the cops. "Yes," I told them. "I want to press charges." You could have cut the silence with a knife. It was heavy, thick, like the lump I could practically see in Aunt Carol's throat. She just stared at me, and I think it finally hit her. Their usual guilt trip wasn't working. This time they couldn't weasel their way out of it. "Okay," one of the officers said, getting right to it. He pulled out his handcuffs. "Travis Mitchell, Jessica Mitchell, Rick Spencer, you're under arrest for breaking and entering and theft. You have the right to remain silent." Their rights kind of faded out as I watched everything happen, like one of those slow-motion wrecks you see on TV. "Damn it," Travis muttered, but the cops didn't pay him any mind. They were just trying to keep hold of Aunt Carol, who was just totally freaking out and crying as they put the cuffs on her. Uncle Rick looked like he was about to pass out. He was so white and shaky. Aunt Carol made this last, desperate grab for me, but she didn't quite get to my arm. "Please, Adam," she pleaded. "We were just having a hard time. Rick's gambling, Jess's debts. We thought you could help us out." I just looked at her, really looking at everything she'd ever said or done to me. All the times she put me down, the fake smiles, and how they never helped me out or gave me any support when I was down. "You should have just asked," I said, icy cold. "But you never did you?" Her mouth just opened and closed like a fish, trying to say something, but no words came out. I turned away, not letting her see anything on my face as they got walked one by one into the police cars. The neighborhood started to wake up. Curtains were moving, lights went on, people were whispering. Let them see, I thought. Let them all see what happens when you treat someone like crap and think they'll just stay quiet. After they left, I just sat in my car, the engine off, and just breathed for the first time in years, maybe forever. Something inside me just cracked open. It wasn't sadness, it wasn't anger, it was relief, freedom. But even then, that wasn't even the end of it. The real fallout hadn't even started yet. Let me tell you, they were in for a world of hurt, and it wasn't just about missing Thanksgiving dinner. Those cop cars drove off, their flashing lights disappearing down the road like the end credits of some bad movie. I sat in my car for a long while, just letting the quiet sink in. My hands were still shaking, but not from fear anymore. It was this edgy, almost excited feeling. They thought this whole thing was over with a couple of arrests and a little telling off, but they had no clue how much trouble they'd actually caused. You see, when I signed up to test that financial software last year, it wasn't just about finding fraud. I was required to report it, too, so this wasn't just a local thing anymore. It got flagged everywhere, to their banks, to the credit bureaus, to anyone who cared about words like embezzlement and fraud. And we're not talking about small potatoes here. With the amount of money they took and the obvious digital trail they left behind, they weren't looking at a slap on the wrist. This was serious, federal-level stuff. As I drove away, I saw Aunt Carol in her front window, just standing there watching me go. Maybe she thought she could somehow make this go away. Maybe she figured she could sweet-talk a few people, lay on the guilt, and smooth things over like she always did. No chance. I drove home, totally zoned out, my head spinning with everything that had just happened and what was coming next. Sleep. Forget about it. Even though I should have felt like I'd won, a part of me was still heartbroken. I missed what I thought family was supposed to be, you know? That dumb, kiddish part of me still held onto those memories, Christmas mornings, birthdays, running through the sprinklers with my cousins in the summer. All that was before the money messed everything up. But then morning came, my phone blew up, and that feeling, it vanished. First, the calls started pouring in. Unknown numbers, hidden numbers. Voicemails all over the place, begging 1 minute, threatening the next. "Adam, it's your Aunt Carol. Please call me back. We can fix this. It's not too late." Then, "Adam, this is Rick. You better think twice about what you're doing. Family's supposed to stick together, right?" And Jess. "Adam, it's Jess. I'm sorry, okay? I'm really sorry. Can you just tell the police it was a misunderstanding? Please, please." I just let them all pile up. I wasn't about to be their shrink, not after they treated my life savings like a personal piggy bank. Then came the real explosion. Within 2 days, their bank accounts were frozen under investigation. And Carol, her mortgage company, freaked when the fraud charges showed up and put her loan on hold. Uncle Rick's boss at that medium-sized construction company heard about the arrest and basically told him to quit. My life was supposed to start fresh that next Monday, new job and all, but then Jess got the rug pulled out from under her. Her background check showed some felony charges still hanging over her head, and the offer was gone. And Travis, man, poor Travis. He'd been running his mouth online for ages about how he was scamming his family out of money, posting on these shady message boards like he was some kind of genius. Well, screenshots got out. Chat logs, too. They became evidence. The company I worked for, a financial security place, even talked about going after him for damages and legal fees on top of the criminal charges. That little bonus he bragged about turned into a mountain of debt practically overnight. 5 figures, just like that. Me? I tried to move on, tried to be smarter, keep my head down. New accounts, different bank, better security system at the house. It wasn't me being paranoid, it was a harsh lesson learned. Sometimes the people closest to you can do way more damage than some random stranger. But it didn't end there. A week or so after Thanksgiving, when the real cold had set in and the Christmas lights were twinkling like fake promises on every porch, I found a letter. No return address, no stamp. Just shoved through the mail slot like someone was trying to hide something. Inside, a note scribbled on cheap notebook paper. "You ruined us. I hope you're happy. We're your family. You'll regret this. We always come back for our own." That's all it said. No name, nothing. I just stood there in my hallway for the longest time, turning that piece of paper over and over in my hands. It was so messed up, it was almost laughable. Even after all they put me through, they still acted like they were the ones who got screwed. I didn't even bother calling the cops. I just let things play out. I didn't have to do a thing because the wheels were already in motion, and there was nothing they could do to stop it. Remember Aunt Carol getting Grandpa Mitchell's house all those years ago? That huge place where the whole family used to get together before things went south. Well, nobody knew there was a sneaky little clause in the will. If the person who inherited it got hit with a felony before the mortgage was paid, the house went to a charity Grandpa had set up secretly. Can you guess who jumped all over that the minute the felony charges were filed? It wasn't me. The bank took care of it, the lawyers did their thing, and the sheriff slapped that foreclosure notice right on her door in the middle of December, right under that pathetic little wreath she'd hung up. Talk about ironic. Poof, foreclosure, the house was taken and it went up for auction. Everything they'd built their little pretend kingdom on, gone. Word spread like wildfire. All those people who pretended not to see how awful they were, suddenly they had a lot to say. Aunt Carol, who used to act like she owned the church, started sneaking around, avoiding everyone. Uncle Rick practically crawled through the grocery store, terrified of being seen. Jess ran off to a town miles away, trying to disappear. And Travis, the last news I got was that he was still waiting for his punishment with a good chance of ending up behind bars. I didn't even answer that letter. I didn't need to either. My whole life just got easier, happier, and brighter once I finally severed ties. Sometimes I still drive past Aunt Carol's old house, now with no holiday decorations and just empty feelings inside. A for sale BY auction sign is out there, flapping in the breeze, and the grass is a mess. I slow down a little when I drive by, enough to soak it all in. Not because I'm mad and not because I want revenge, but because it's important to keep some lessons in mind. 2 months later, right after the new year, was when it all really ended. The auction was on a freezing, gloomy January morning. At first, I wasn't going to go. I thought it'd be best to just move on, to let it fade away quietly. But a piece of me, the part that remembered every time I was brushed off, every hurtful laugh, every single moment they made me feel worthless, wanted to see it through. When I drove up across the street from the house, it almost looked unreal. A small group of people were standing on the frozen lawn, their hands in their pockets, kicking their feet to keep warm. An auctioneer in a big coat was on the porch with a clipboard, shouting out numbers like he was selling off old junk. And there they were, all huddled together on the curb, wearing cheap jackets, their faces red from the cold and the embarrassment. Aunt Carol, Uncle Rick, Jess, even Travis, out on bail, looking way older than he had at Thanksgiving. They couldn't go back in, period. They had nothing legally to hold on to. I watched as the auctioneer announced the winning bid, much less than the house was actually worth, and the hammer came down on the front porch. Just like that, the last bit of the life they'd ripped off, twisted, and built on being selfish was gone. They didn't even see me in my car until it was over. Aunt Carol looked right at me from across the street, and for a moment she just looked. Nothing was said, no drama. Just a woman who, at long last, understood that there was no "I'm sorry," no guilt trip, no last-ditch effort that could fix the mess she'd created. I gave her a little nod. Not mean, not gloating, just over. Then I just drove off, not looking back. No more messages, no more letters, no more echoes of people who only knew how to take. They just disappeared from my life, and I let them. I slowly rebuilt everything. It wasn't fast. Trust takes time, even trusting yourself. But it was mine. I got a new apartment on the other side of town, started a job I loved, and made friends who saw me as more than just a bank account, but someone worth caring about. Every Thanksgiving after that, I made my own traditions. Dinner with real friends. The ones who came over because they wanted to. The ones who gave me the mashed potatoes because they wanted to, not because they were expecting something. Every Thanksgiving, as I'd get the turkey all set and listen to everyone having a good time, a sense of calm would wash over me. No bitterness, no feeling down, no looking back with what-ifs. Just this sure, quiet knowing that leaving them to their own devices was the right call. The best thing, really, that I ever did. Because sometimes the ultimate satisfaction isn't about payback. It's about breaking away. And I was, at long last, free.